when you have crisis, the true DNA of your company comes out. The true DNA of your leadership style comes out.
Welcome to The Modern Hotelier. Both hosts were honored as top 100 influential people in hospitality. We're bringing you interviews with industry experts, thought leaders, and innovators who are shaping the future of hospitality. Whether you're a seasoned hotel professional or just stepping into the industry, our goal is to provide you with insights, knowledge, and trends that will empower you, the modern hotelier.
We're excited to release our episode with Nikheel Advani from Grace Bay Resort. One of the things I really liked about this conversation is how it comes through that he is a true hotelier. And, he is just a very personable guy. And I can see how he would just knock it out of the park in luxury hotels. One thing that he said that I really liked was do good and it comes back to you. David, what were some of your takeaways from the conversation with Nikheel?
Yeah, I think I highly recommend this for the younger hoteliers to see what it's like to get started in the business and to grow and to do the right things as you evolve in the space. So I think this is, it's a great episode for anyone, but I think especially with some of the younger hoteliers, this is something they should listen to.
Absolutely. Enjoy the episode. Today we have on Nikheel Advani. Nikheel is the co-founder, COO, and principal of Grace Bay Resorts in Turks and Caicos. He oversees overall operations, branding, sales, and marketing of resort development. He joined Grace Bay Club in August 2004 as managing director, serving as the top operational executive in its expansion and renovation. Nikheel also founded the Grace Bay Club Hotel School and serves as the president of the Turks and Caicos Hotel and Tourism Association. Welcome to the show, Nikheel.
Hey, thank you so much, Steve. Thank you, David.
You're welcome. So we're going to go through, ask you a lightning round of questions. We're going to get into your background, where you grew up. We're going to then dive into your career and then get into some industry topics. Sound good?
Sounds great.
Okay. What was the first job you ever had?
Wow. The first job, I had to go clean cars, and then I was not making enough money. So I did that for a couple of days. And then my dad says, why don't I introduce you to the ambassador's wife of France and Belgium and go work there. And, I went first mixing cocktails and all, and slowly became a business. So I actually started a firm when I was 16 doing that.
Wow, that's cool. What's your favorite city?
New York City. There's so many reasons why. New York City is just one of the best places in the world.
What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Wow, that's a good one. I've made so many mistakes in my life that I've got so much advice given to me. But I think the most important one for me is, when we're starting out and doing this industry work, and it's a tough business to be in, as you can imagine. We all started from the bottom. One mentor of mine said, before you even complain, do the job first. Or before you want to give us advice, do the job first. And once you do it, then come and tell us what you think. And that's been such a great piece of advice for this industry, where it's all hands-on, where you're really making things happen and improving people's overall experience in life. So that was very valuable. And I learned that when I was about 17 in hotel school.
That's great. That's good advice. So if you could trade places with somebody for a day, who would it be?
I think I would be, this is when Steve Jobs was alive, to be at the heart of Apple. At the time he launched the iPhone would be incredible. The creativity, the passion, and the stress points that they were going on behind the scenes, very similar to our business, right? He keeps those stress points behind, and the presentation is up front. And our business is very similar. So that would have been really exciting time to be in, to trade positions with him. And I think he wouldn't have mind coming to the Caribbean and spending the same time here.
That's a very good point. What's on your bucket list?
Oh, wow. I've been very fortunate traveling all around the world. Antarctica. I haven't done that.
What's a secret talent you have that most people don't know?
I can sleep anywhere. Well, they kind of know about it. They take pictures of me all over the place. I don't know whether it's narcolepsy or just sometimes being exhausted. But, I think we learned it in the Army, because you pull pretty long shifts in that. And so we learned to sleep standing in a nightclub, wherever. So, I did that while I was climbing Kilimanjaro too. Was able to sleep sitting up, having my meal.
So last question, if you had a time machine, which way are you going? Into the future or to the past? And what year would you go to?
It'll be future, and it'll be probably about, we're in 2022, to about 70, 80 years. clear the, you know, yeah, to get out there and see what's happening.
Beautiful. That was great. So now we're going to learn a little bit more about you, kind of what makes you tick. So you were born in Nigeria and grew up in Singapore, correct?
That is correct.
Where in Singapore did you grow up?
So in Singapore, we lived in an area close to Holland Village. That's a great little suburb. It's a city state, so within a 40-minute drive, you can drive pretty much anywhere. But it's a great little place. You know, Singapore was growing up as a country. We got there in the early 70s, and it was just formed in 65 when Lee Kuan Yew, the leader, decided to take it from a third world country to a first world country in about 50 years. So we got to see this incredible development of a country and learned so much along the way, and you know, picked up a lot of the values, whether it was hard work and humility and, you know, excellence, things of that nature that slowly became a part of your own DNA because you saw that you were living life in a country that was going through that sort of evolution and development.
Absolutely. That's great. And then you graduated with a degree from the University of Massachusetts at Amherst with an honors degree in hotel, restaurant, travel administration. How did you end up in the States, and how did you know you wanted to get into the hospitality space so early?
So we'll start with I didn't.
Yeah.
I was in engineering school because, you know, I had traditional, you know, upper middle class parents from Asia, and generally you can be a doctor, a lawyer, or an engineer. My brother went on to be a lawyer, and so he's a partner in a law firm in New York. I didn't much care for reading that much. You know, those books are really thick. So I thought, not that. Doctor, I'm kind of, I get all icky when it's too much blood around. So, you know, I don't mind going to the hospital, but, you know, keep me away from injections and a lot of blood. So I figured, okay, this was the process of elimination. Engineer, I'd love that. I used to take up my bike and, you know, repair the car and do all sorts of, you know, hands-on stuff. So I thought that would be good. So I got into school and it was pretty fun. Don't get me wrong, it was pretty good. But then my dad told me at some point that, you know, I had to start working and making money. And so that's when this whole thing came about. I tried washing cars and that wasn't making enough money. And so he gave me this alternative to go work in these homes because he says, you like to party, you like great restaurants. Why don't you go and do that, you know, from the ground up and make some money while you're at it? So I started, and the great thing with the ambassadors' wives, they were the hostess. I mean, real incredible host. If you have to learn from someone how to host great events, those would be the people that would be at top of my list. So they used to have, firstly, great alcohol, great food, table settings. So you got to meet a lot of incredible people, and I did what I loved. I got to meet incredible people. I got to tend the bar. I got to serve the food and make people happy. And this was natural. This was crazy. So I go back and tell my mom and dad, you know what? Yeah, I've loved this. I've made, and I used to make good money at 16, 17. So I said, I'm going to do this for a career. And my mom freaked out. She's like, oh my God, from an engineer, we could have had a great engineer in our family. Now he wants to be a waiter. And what am I going to tell my friends? My dad, very pragmatic, says, no, sir, this is great. If this is what you love and you're passionate about, because I can see that in you, you've got to learn to race to the top. So get educated correctly. So I went to the local hotel school, did really well there. It was definitely a natural calling. A lot to learn, a lot of mistakes I made, don't get me wrong. But, you know, I had some great mentors and professors throughout my career. And it started there, you know. And then as we finished that, he said, I think you should go to the States. We looked at a couple of schools. And at that time, UMass Amherst was, you know, a top of the 5 or 6 schools that was offering great hotel programs like Cornell and UNLV and a few others. And it was a Hilton school at that time as well in Houston. So there were a lot of good schools, and we picked UMass Amherst, and I got in. And that was a great time there. I mean, I had a great mentor and class teacher by the name of Stephen Fletcher, just an incredible gentleman, an incredible hotelier. And the professors there were wonderful. So really lucky.
So you completed the general manager program at Harvard Business School. What led you to make sure that you pursued that at that juncture in your life?
So this was really interesting. So I had a hotel background, great work experience. I was with the Ritz Carlton at that time. I just opened Singapore and I just moved to Malaysia. And one of the things a mentor of mine told me, who was the head of the YTL company, Tan Sri Francis Yeo, is that you've got a great hotel education. Now you've got to get a great business education. Those two together become really powerful. And, you know, you look at some of our mentors in the business who are great product people, And they either have to find a great finance person, but if you have both those skill sets, it really allows you to get into ownership, development, and a whole slew of other areas versus just the operations itself. So that was what encouraged me and dared to sponsor me. So that was really important. But I told them I'm going to pay for it. So that was very important. They had to sponsor me. There was a huge process to get into Harvard, as you can imagine. But the one thing I said is I want to pay for it because it is something I feel will be that much more valuable for me. And they offered to pay and said, well, we've got you. And I said, no, I want to take care of this myself. And I think that was a good decision. Now I think about it, sometimes, you make these decisions that are so committed and passionate. I should have taken the 50, 60 grand that would have come with it, but it was a good decision either way.
That's great. So you also speak and teach at Cornell, the School of Hotel Administration, and I'm going to pronounce this wrong, but Les Roches International School of Hotel Management. And I guess what we're curious and we'd like the audience to know, what are you seeing from the younger generation of hoteliers?
Well, that's really interesting. So the main class that I do, and I've done it for various schools. The Cornell one was really interesting because at Ritz-Carlton, the opening of Washington, D.C. in 2000, Harvard came to do a full case study on how we open a hotel. With the general manager at the time, James McBride, I was the EAM in charge of food and beverage. That was the number 2 position. So that was really interesting because they studied every step that Ritz-Carlton did and how to open this hotel. So then we asked these questions to the kids in the new generation, and I'm seeing there is a change in the generation. The passion is still there for those who want to be in the business. There's no doubt, but they like to work differently. And so we're learning as we hire more people, what are these different things? They want to, when they can't, they want to work from home. That was not a thing in the hotel business a long time ago, as you can imagine. And there's some positions you just can't work from home. A chef told us recently that would that be interested? Would we be able to have him work from home for a few days? And that we said, look, you got to be in the kitchen. That role, you're cooking. You cannot work from home. But there are positions like the cost controller where he can come in, do his checks, and then do all the computing from home. So there are positions, and we're seeing those kind of changes. But I think in the bottom line is the passion for the business and passion for operations. I think we find a lot less people interested to work weekends and long hours and give it. There still are, but that number or that cohort is getting smaller. So we're going to have to think creatively, how do we motivate people to get into this business and have as much fun as we've had or we're having and we will have. And I think that we can do a better job at.
Absolutely. And that was great. Now we're going to dive into your career a little bit. So you spent 7 years with the Ritz-Carlton, specializing in hotel operations and openings, moving within the organization from the food and beverage manager to the executive assistant manager in properties in Singapore and New York City. What made you get into the operations and kind of the food and beverage side of things?
So I think that whole part of working with these embassies and then learning and seeing that I was so passionate. A mentor said, if you get up and do what you love, you wouldn't have worked in a day. And I always think, how am I going to teach my kids this? Because I want to make sure they find what they love doing, because this is just incredible, right? When you do find that. And so having done food and beverage before, that became a passion. I, worked hard. I had great mentors in the industry like Walter Junger, in the food and beverage, Peter Schoch, and people who are the best in their business when they were doing their trade. So that I got pulled into that. And when we got into openings, we had even more. Gerard Van Grinsven, people of this nature who are the leaders or vice presidents at Ritz-Carlton for food and beverage. And we kept on opening more and more hotels. So opportunities never ended. So I guess, you never get bored. You love what you do. You became really good at it. And then more properties were opening. So we went from Singapore, we helped open Osaka. We then open Malaysia. Then we got transferred to do the US properties, because then we were opening quite a few US properties. So we helped open Philly, we opened Washington, we helped open Sarasota, and we helped open New York, and all at great times. So really, really exciting times.
In 2002, you became the hotel manager of the renowned Raffles Hotel Singapore. In addition, you served as the food and beverage champion for the entire Asia Pacific region. What was that experience like?
That's now we're shifting gears, right? Moving from the US back to Asia, I had to reset a lot of the way we do business. Asians, there's a lot of things called face, and you want to make sure that you have, just like you respect everybody, it's less direct. It's more one-on-ones. Motivation's a whole different model there. But what you learn is you can take the best of what you learn from the US and the rest of the world and use it where you are communicating clearly, you are spending time with them. We used to do something called a day in a life in Raffles. So I would dress up as the bellboy and work a day there. And I realized what's working for them, what's not working for them. How can we help? How can we make things better? And I think you earn a lot of respect in Asia when you do stuff of that nature. So we had an incredible team. I worked with a general manager there by the name of Javier Rosenberg, and two of us kind of split responsibilities on how we ran that hotel because it was a whole city block. There was about 20 restaurants, about 103 suites, 7 gardens, a whole banquet operations, a theater, and about 60 retail shops from Tiffany's and things of that nature. So, with luxury shops and that. So it was quite a bit to do. And plus we were looking at new developments around the region. So that was really fun. And then, with food and beverage, having 20 restaurants and being able to share that knowledge with the rest of the Asian hotels and share and do idea swapping, that became really exciting for us in terms of, creating experiences that were really wow.
What was your favorite restaurant?
Oh, the Raffles Grill. It's an old school fine dining restaurant. We used to have a whole bunch of chefs and everybody coming in. And that was a time that fine dining had kind of died, right? It didn't really exist. But this restaurant, because it was so personal and because the experiences were so wow. I mean, we'd do a dinner, for example, where we'd fly in all sorts of exotic items and take the items off the menu with just the descriptors left there. And at the end of the dinner, you'd have to decide, could you figure out what you were eating, and write the item down. So there were a lot of experiential dinners that we did there. And I think that took away some of the fear and the formality of a fine dining restaurant. And we made it more interactive. So they felt comfortable. They felt they were part of this whole thing, still having an elevated dining experience, but also being really involved.
So a couple of years later in 2004, you came to Grace Bay Resorts and Turks and Caicos. And you joined, there's 21 suites. It's a $15 million property. Tell us about the growth there and what's it like today?
Yeah, so I joined my partner, Mark Juliet, who was the developer, and he needed a hotelier to kind of bring the magic of Grace Bay together because he was in development of building more property. He acquired the property with roughly about 2001, 2002, and then decided, okay, this is a great property in the Turks and Caicos. Nobody knew it. How can we, spruce up the hospitality company? And so I joined him in 2004, and we joined forces and decided, okay, we're going to grow this hotel brand. So first was developing Grace Bay Club from a $15 million asset to today it's just under a $300 million asset. And we did that over a 5-6 year period where we increased the size by very mindfully adding the villas at Grace Bay Club and the estate at Grace Bay Club. Again, keeping in mind that, this 21-room hotel had regular guests coming back. They felt like they were owners. So we had to sit and listen to the community, which was a very small community. Grace Bay Club was the first luxury property created in the Turks and Caicos Islands. So it was really a very interesting evolution where in most cities, you'll just develop when you feel like developing. You do your market research. The market research here was very intimate, where you talk to a lot of the clients who stayed there, what they like about it. When we're growing it, keeping these parts, these really cool parts, which were very intimate, So creating a larger property, but still having the feel of a boutique property was really important. And we were very happy to get a lot of feedback from the travel community, the travel professionals who've been incredible supporters, and were able to grow. The government and the community around us was incredible. They are very involved. They want to help us to be the best. And they realize this is their pride and joy. So everybody had ownership, whether it was physical or not, they had ownership in this property. And so we grew from a 21-suite hotel, a $15 million asset. And today, the revenues at that point were about $4 million. Today, we're at about $120 million in revenues. And we have 4 properties. We have about 800 employees. We have world-class vice presidents. We in the early days, Mark and myself had to pretty much, bootstrap everything. And you do these 3 positions, I'll do these 3 positions. I'll be F&B and I'll be GM and I'll also be director of sales and marketing. So you learn, and it's an incredible time. And so today, when you're growing in a small destination like the Turks and Caicos Islands, which is known as beautiful by nature, winning best beaches in the world, like Travel and Leisure and Condé Nast and that, when you're growing your company, you're actually helping the island grow as well. And we grew hand in hand. So it's like your brother, your sister growing with you. And it was really very, very exciting. So today we started with, say, about about 30, 40 employees. Today we have about 800. We started with revenues about 4 million. Today we're about 120 odd million. We had one mini property that we grew, the Grace Bay Club. And today we have 4 properties. We are opening a new one the end of this year called South Bank. So it's really an exciting time for us. And we just had a meeting with all our vice presidents and partners, and we can see that over the next 5 to 8 years, we'll be introducing many new products, and I'll talk about that in due time. And we'll probably double in size in revenues and headcount. And so how to do that mindfully and how to do that strategically in a place that has so much opportunity and still keep all the things that you grew and people got to like you for. So those are the things that, we're working with today with our teams.
I love that. And Nikheel, I'm familiar with Turks and Caicos from seeing celebrities go there. Any celebrity that maybe has stayed at your property or that you just came across while they were at Turks and Caicos and you're like, wow, that is a really cool person?
So I can say a few. Now, we believe in the privacy policy.
Absolutely.
Turks is always, understated. And so many of them we can't talk about. But Drake sings and raps about it, and he's at the bars, and you've seen all the social media he does. I know he loves coming to our bar as well. So, he's a personality. But we get, CEOs of Wall Street, the barons and the ones who run industry and private equity and, hedge funds. But we also get great sports stars who then help with us with starting the football program or the basketball program in Turks and Caicos. So we were very lucky in all our hotels. We get, of course, a lot of the famous actors and music professionals. So having all that community here in Turks and Caicos, really all of them want to play a bigger role and contribute in some way, shape, or form to this community. And it betters everybody's lives. And I think that's the story there where it's so important that, yes, they want to come for a holiday, but many of them bring stuff, and then it distributed in schools, whether they're computers and things like that. And so for a community like us, which is growing and education and healthcare is important, there's a lot of support from these celebrities who come and make this place a better place for all of us.
Drake was the first one that came to mind too.
Yeah, I know, because he seems so I'm sure he doesn't mind if I say that. One of the very important things I'll say is, so talk about contribution, talk about a passionate guy who started from the bottom and now look where he is. And he was listening to one of our musicians at Grace Bay Club and singing one of his songs and was so impressed that he gave him $20,000 in cash. And this, he has it on social media, so it's something you can look at. And what was amazing was not just the cash, but the passion and the encouragement. And I can tell you how far it went for that musician and what he was able to achieve from that point on. So really incredible moments in the Turks and Caicos Islands.
Wow. Awesome. Maybe he'll subscribe to the podcast. You founded the Grace Bay Club Hotel School, and you're the past president and chairman of the Turks and Caicos Hotel and Tourism Association. Why is continuing education and the Tourism Association so important to you?
So I think for us, what we learned is as we were growing a brand, we were growing a country. And hospitality is 90% of direct and indirect GDP. So what better way than to really start training this luxury style? And there are 2-3 things we were different at. In Turks and Caicos, we focused a lot on luxury, super high luxury. And then we also focused on the condo hotel model that my partner was one of the key members in perfecting that model, Mark Hotelier. So there we wanted to train, how do you manage a hotel, but you got to manage residences as well, because that's our funding model. And so teaching all that, it was very valuable. It helped us inform how we were going to operate differently, but it also gave people a great foundation on how to provide luxury hoteling. So that's what we motivated there. And in terms of the Hotel Association, that is the main lobby that helps inform and guide government advisory groups as to, how we want to redevelop the airport. As we were getting more guests, how do we have better roads and better infrastructure, better, the partners of the supermarket created one that is in the heart of Grace Bay, which is called the Gourmet IGA. And the Stanbrooks really did a great job with creating the infrastructure for us to serve world-class food. If you have great chefs and you don't have great product, you're not going to be able to serve world-class food. So it's so many things that go hand in hand. And this is the lobby group that brings everybody together, speaks to the government. I mean, when I reached there, for example, I'll give you one example that I thought was really relevant. When I got there in 2004, December was busy, and we were busy for 4 months till Easter. And then you cash flow manage all the way till September till you get your advance deposits. So it's a very tough business to run. Not a lot of fun for the months that you don't have a lot of business. So we sat down and said, this island's a little bit different. We are a year-round island, and the perception of the Caribbean is you only come for the winter. Well, we got to change that perception. But the only way we can do that is get airlift and let the airlines work, because if there's airlift, people will come, and if they like it, they'll come back. And so about 10, 15 years ago, the Hotel Association, while I was president, we went together with the airport authorities and with the government collectively in an organized manner. And the Hotel Association, the past presidents, current presidents, all worked together to go and propose to the airlines to come here throughout the year. JetBlue was the first one that did that. And when JetBlue came, all the others started coming in. And so together with American, together with Delta, together with all these airlines, and slowly Southwest joined the batch. And so suddenly you had incredible lift throughout the year. And for most of the Caribbean, it is seasonal. And the winter months is when they get really busy. But we realized people can swim 365 days of the year. In Turks and Caicos, we have 330 days of bright sunshine. So people started coming more around the year. And today, March, which is my busiest month, runs the same occupancy, 95, as July at a slightly different rate. But we transform the island together with the government, with the airport authorities, to become a year-round island. And when you buy a residence, a second home, it's really good to know that the restaurants are busy throughout. You can come in December, you can come in January, but you can also come in June and July. So that all these things work hand in hand, and it becomes a better business model when you have good revenues, pretty much 10 to 12 months of the year. So suddenly it becomes really attractive for the best in class and the best in the industry. So once we succeeded, we are looking back now 20 years on. You see the Ritz Carlton coming in, you see the St. Regis coming in, the Kempinskis of the world, because the independent leading hotels of the world, small luxury hotels, we are part of both of these organizations. We test marketing. We then showed success, whether it was in the real estate, having some of the highest price per square foot, or some of the greatest rates in the hotel business, and making sure people still feel a great sense of value before they leave on both the real estate and hospitality side of things.
That's great. So I'm really excited to dive into the next section. We're going to talk about kind of industry thoughts and trends going on right now. So obviously you're big into the guest experience. What are ways that you are creating emotional attachments, not only to the resort, but also to Turks and Caicos as well? And how does technology fit into that?
So really great question. And it's pretty broad. So I'm going to bring it down a little bit if you don't. So I was just at the Forbes Luxury Summit recently, and there was a presentation that was done. And one of the things we took away from there was this exceptional service. So the question was, what makes a luxury destination? And one of the highest things, 78% of the respondents said exceptional service and attention to detail. The next thing about luxury was exclusivity and privacy. So let me go to emotional attachments. One of the biggest assets we have here are our people. And I'm not just saying that. If you've ever been to the Caribbean and you've really interacted with one of the Caribbean team members, wherever in the Caribbean, and there's a slogan, everybody needs a Caribbean in their life. And so whenever, you need a dose of Caribbean for sure. And so when you meet with these people, when I first got here, Asia has incredible service, and so does Europe, and so does South America. But all this service, there are different strengths. And what we found in the Caribbean was try getting a hug from a Caribbean staff member. And it is incredible. It changes your life. Now, in the past, I came from Ritz-Carlton. We were not supposed to hug. There was a line between us and the guest. And in the Caribbean, if you really want to use the strengths of what makes them really incredible, it is their interaction with our guests. It is incredible. They have friendships that, I get bookings that come through our staff, not necessarily the reservations team, because that's who they feel close to. That's who they're emotionally connected with. So that is one of the biggest things I think that for us as Grace Bay Resorts is a strength, and also for the Caribbean as a whole and as a destination. So we see that is one of our biggest strengths. And then also Turks and Caicos is really a low density destination. I just had a top CEO with us, and he's like, hey, I guess, March is not so busy. And I said, no, man, we're full. But, because they're smaller properties, they're all about 100 suites or 100 units or thereabouts. People feel that they have a lot of space. There are some destinations that you go, you feel that there are thousands of people everywhere. Not necessarily in the Turks and Caicos. It's a really understated luxury destination. It's really, very, very low density. And that kind of development is what we want to carry on with. Even with the Ritz Carlton coming in, there are 100 odd suites. Most Ritz Carltons are a couple of hundred. But here they decided to adapt some of the Turks and Caicos style of development. And they've done, a residential component as well. So that, that sort of a low density, feel is all over the property as a DNA.
We talked a little bit about this earlier. Your personal leadership style has shaped the culture and success of Grace Bay Resorts. Can you give us a little more insight into your philosophy?
Yeah, I'm going to say it's a combination between Mark, myself, and Thierry, our partners. And one of the biggest learnings I had was from Mark, where he said, you know what? Our goal is to grow a Caribbean hotel company. And that was very, very instrumental in how we manage and how we see things. We were involved in every single aspect. When you're a small company, you go to the marriages, you go to the funerals, you go to when they need money, they'll come to you. So when we say family here, it's really deep. It's not just a company slogan, and you can speak to the team. They'll tell you, when they've had hard times, and we've gone through crisis together, whether it's a Great Recession, whether it was COVID, and we're still here. And then that says a lot. And then we couldn't have done it without our people. And so I think our focus on our people is huge, and it's in a very sincere manner. We like to communicate clearly as we can. But, it's really getting their heart. Leadership is, you can do the management part of it, but really leadership is about getting their hearts, so that if today I wanted some team member to stay and work through the night till the next morning or whatever that may be, and some of those crises we had to employ some of these really tough measures. They did it because you were there at their wedding, or you were there at a funeral, or it's not because you're one of the partners that they're going to do that. And that's not a disrespect. It's just that you're going to invest in them as much as they're going to invest in you. And that's such a great feeling to know that, you have a team of 800 odd people, and we know all of them by name. We know some of their family members. We know, the people we impact are really happy, and, it means a lot to them and means a lot to us as well, especially after COVID. That was really evident. When you have crisis, the true DNA of your company comes out. The true DNA of your leadership style comes out. And I'm proud to be able to say that, we made good decisions. They were difficult, but we made good decisions and kept every single employee through COVID. And it benefited us when everything bounced back really quickly, right? So, sometimes it's a double-edged sword. You don't see it, but it comes, you do good, you do positive, and it comes back to you. So our style is definitely very much relationship driven, right? When we play hard and we work hard, that's definitely a strong part of our industry and our culture in our company. And we respect people and relationships, whether they're with our shareholders, whether they're with our team members, whether they're with our travel partners, everybody that, contributes to our success.
No, that's a great answer. And before I ask the next question, I think that's what the industry is missing a lot of. And when you look at, we talk about how we're trying to bring back people into this industry that we've lost, or new people, or the young people. And a lot of people don't look at it as a career. They look at it as a job, or a placeholder till they get onto something else. And I think what you just described is what's lacking, because there isn't the same type of, I think, feeling that, employees get today, especially in the States, unlike your employees. So that's great to hear. What trends are you seeing in travel or even in real estate that are going on right now?
So there's a couple of things. I think one of the big trends is group travel. Jack Ezon was speaking recently at a conference, and one of the things he had shared, and we see these same trends: multi-generational travel, friendcations, whether it's a group of men or women, a group of married couples traveling together. I think after COVID, because we were put in a position where we were pulled away from all this, and realizing and realizing the value of relationships and connections. I mean, if you look at the blue zones in the world, one of the key reasons that people live longer is relationships, and how great that we're in the business of enhancing people's relationships, creating moments that they bond with their family and making them happy. That's what we do. I mean, so, we're in the blue zone business, is how I look at it. And the blue zone business is making sure that all of us are passionate. And when our guests come in, that we give them our full attention. We allow them, and we create a platform for them to connect, with themselves. And we're seeing that a lot in the group travel side of things, but also just in a couple or a family. So that's definitely a big trend. We're seeing people are, when they had that big trip that we are waiting for having, they're having that every year now because they feel that what happens if something like this happens again in a few years? So the big trips are happening more and more and more within the same year. They're not waiting for 5 years from today, we'll do the big trip. So we're seeing a huge level of spending in the luxury space. Those are the two key big trends we're seeing. We're also seeing in terms of real estate, just people wanting to have second and third homes in areas that they feel match their value system, whether it's environmental stewardship, whether it's a safe or beautiful location. I mean, they say, as we said, everybody needs a little bit of Caribbean, but looking at the ocean and the sea, it is therapeutic in some way, shape, or form. So the wellness element, where it used to be important, has really risen in importance. And in fact, in one of our newest resorts, Rock House, which we opened a couple of years ago, in the phase 3 that we're going to open, there'll be one section dedicated to just wellness from start to end. The suite, the type of food that we create, the Pilates and the offerings, and we'll want to start it at home and have it go through the year. So it's not just when you come to the property. We'll have a pre and post that keep you connected through the year. So it's a multiple time, it's a lifestyle. You've picked the wellness lifestyle, and we will curate that experience throughout, even when you go back, because no use to do that here and then go back and then, get lost again in the big city. And it happens. We all know that, So, looking at wellness at a very different level, and wellness of our team. I mean, for the first time on our team, we have a wellness expert that, consults with our leadership, because after COVID, we thought, what better to bring somebody of that nature? And this person consults even, I think, for a governor in the US. She's a brilliant lady. And so we're very honored to have that relationship. And it was not a one-time thing. It's multiple times a year. And we built a relationship. And again, it's all the things we do well, right? Relationship, experiences, and creating these blue zone type environments and experiences.
That's great. So you moved up fairly quickly in your career. What advice do you have for younger hoteliers out there?
So, I think find the greatest mentors. I was so fortunate. Many positions that I got put into, I had no clue how I was going to make it work. I was probably not even qualified. I mean, one of them, I still remember this clearly. I get a call that they had to make some leadership changes at a hotel that was opening in Malaysia, the Ritz Carlton. And they would have liked me to come up 2 weeks prior. And then they also told me, you might have a chance to be the food and beverage director. And I said, firstly, I'm 26 years old and I was supposed to go somewhere else as assistant F&B. So I think you might have, I'm so honored that you think about me, but I'm probably not the right guy. And the vice president of food and beverage at the time, he said, no, you are the right guy. You'll have to meet with the owners. That's a clearing point. The owners were like, we like young people like you. We're going to give you a lot of chances. You're going to make mistakes, and that's okay. But we're going to back you up. And so with the general manager, James McBride, who was incredible, Gerard Van Grinsven, the VP of food and beverage, and the owner, Dato Mark Yeo, all giving me the full support to allow me to make mistakes, we were able to do some amazing things. So at 26, I got a chance to be an executive assistant manager and director of food and beverage, and that continued. So again, having great mentors and work your butt off. Be the best. Jack Welch said, you be number 1 or number 2 or forget about it. Don't do it. And so those are 2-3 things I think that are valuable. Get great mentors, work your butt off, because it's how it works. My dad told me, if you ever find an easier way to make money, other than hard work and working smart, of course, let me know. And I said, Dad, you're too old. You don't realize, there's technology coming, there's this and that. And I'm 53 now, like David, as we talked about, and I haven't found a better way yet. So,
If you do,
and we
let
have
us
fun
know.
doing it, so it's okay. Yeah. So, and great mentors, as we've said, so great mentors, work hard and, be passionate about what you do, be the best at whatever you do.
I love that. That is great. So now we're going to turn the tables a little bit. We've been asking you the questions. We're going to let you ask us one question right now.
Great. Favorite moment in life of learning?
Favorite moment of life in learning?
Yeah. So at YPO, we believe in lifelong learning. And then, we learn, when you look back at your life, what was one of the greatest life learning moments that you've had that's helped you shape your life, your career, your happiness?
I'll go first on this one, David. I grew up in the Midwest. So my mom always kind of taught me the same thing. You got to work hard, you got to get out there, but have a positive attitude while you're doing it. So when I was, I think 14 or 15, maybe in the morning, I would go work at a strawberry patch. And I would wake up at about 5 a.m. and get out to the strawberry patch. And then after that, at about noon or 1, I hope labor people aren't going to come after my mom for this, but I would go to work at I'd go to work at McDonald's in the afternoon till about like 8 o'clock at night. So I was working like 5 a.m. to 8 o'clock, not every day during the summer, but probably like 3 to 4 days. And it instilled in me that hard work and that positivity. And it also instilled at me that there is no way I ever want to work at McDonald's my whole life. So it kind of was like, do good and then get the heck out of here and go do something that you're going to enjoy, because the last thing I want to do is work at McDonald's. Shout out to anybody who works at McDonald's. Y'all do a great job.
Yeah, yeah, I'll give a little different perspective. So I was 18. I got a scholarship offer to Manhattan College. I grew up in suburbs outside of Philadelphia, and they sent the letter. Back then, there's no email, there's no GPS, and I'm like, okay. I'm going to go drive. They're having a luncheon on a Saturday, so I drive to Manhattan College. Don't even know what tolls are. I'm at the Lincoln Tunnel, and I'm like, I don't have any money, and they're like, you got to pull over there and talk to the lady. She's asking me why the hell am I going to Manhattan College versus where I lived in Pennsylvania. Long story short, I show up and I was the only person there without their parents. And it stuck out at me that that's the way, I didn't even think about asking my parents. And it was just kind of this weird feeling, but also this feeling of I've got to always think that way. Just go do it. If I want to do something, I need to do something, just go do it. And that's kind of been my philosophy. And I'm the oldest of 4 boys, and everybody else is back in Pennsylvania and hasn't left the country and traveled, and I've traveled all over. So anyway, that's my 2 cents.
That's incredible. Thank you for sharing, Steve and David. That's really cool.
So last question that you're going to get. John's been listening in the background the whole time, so he's going to ask you our final question, and then we're going to wrap it up.
So listening to the whole episode, it's super clear that you are really passionate about what you do and you love what you do. And I'm curious if you have anything outside of your professional life, maybe interests or hobbies that either help you gain perspective on what you do professionally or kind of feed that passion.
That's a great question. And I do have that. And that's my interaction with YPO. I'm one of the, I've had a lot of leadership roles in the Young Presidents Organization. I was very fortunate to be able to get involved with that and selected to be, qualified to be part of that group. And, a mentor of mine, again, another mentor, told me that at 35, you should get into YPO. They're great people. They share ideas. It's a lifelong learning journey. It's going to change your life. And then, everybody tells you something changes your life. Well, we were busy. We were creating a company. And so that was busy. And when I got to 44 and a half, I thought, the cutoff is 45. We have a company that's big enough now that will qualify for all the requirements to get into YPO. And I got in at 45. And since then, it has changed my life. So there are a lot of activities. We go for meetings. There's a forum where you share, pure honesty and transparency, the challenges you have in your life and in your personal life. So this is business, personal, and you go for wine tastings or you go interact for learning lessons. And so there's so many elements there that allow me to do this outside my work. But also it's related because all those extra skill sets of lifelong learning are able to be something I use within my world, personal and business. So I think the YPO experience has just multiplied my life's blue zones, if we say, qualities. It's just incredible. I will live longer because I have great relationships now in a whole different group of people where hoteliers usually hang out with hoteliers. Here, I've been hanging out with people who run security companies, who do extractions, who lay cables. And so using this knowledge and having them come and having a platform to do YPO events. And in all luxury hotels, as we all know, we've always hosted YPO events, and their sense for going the extra mile and having only in YPO type events where all hoteliers, that's what we love doing, having one of a kind wow moments for our guests. So it really has a lot of commonalities, but that would be something that has really changed my life.
So that does it for another episode of The Modern Hotelier. This is where you get to plug away, whether it be Grace Bay Resorts, Turks and Caicos, yourself. How can people connect with you or find out more about your property or the island?
So, Grace Bay Resorts, we have 4 properties open. We have the Grace Bay Club, which is our flagship. We have Point Grace. We have West Bay Club, and we have Rock House, which is one of the coolest properties, which is the Caribbean Capri. We'll be opening South Bank, which is a iconic luxury property, which is a resort and marina, which is incredible. Here in the Turks and Caicos, we'll be opening for guests in November this year. And we also have the Point that we're developing. And in Rock House, we're doing phase 2 and 3. We're going to have new private villas part of our collection. We also just realized, after doing the math in the last few weeks, that in the next 4 to 5 years, we will become one of the largest private villa operators with 65 or so private villas, luxury villas under our private villa collection and Grace Bay Resorts brands. So it's really cool to know that we will, in the next 5 years, be one of the largest luxury providers in the region. And again, it's not about size, it's about quality, it's about experiences and memories. So go to Grace Bay Resorts website, you'll see all our properties and everything we're doing. We'll be humbled and would love to take care of you if you'd like to come to Turks and Caicos. Beautiful by nature.
You made it to the end of The Modern Hotelier. Thanks for listening. The Modern Hotelier is produced by Make More Media. Make sure to like and subscribe if you're listening on YouTube, or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. If you know a guest or sponsor that would be a good fit, feel free to email us at hello@themodernhotelier.com. If you'd like to get some Modern Hotelier merch, click the merch button on modernhotelier.com or click the link below. Thanks and have a great day.